Hey guys, Brad here from Finite Cards, bringing you a deck profile on some of the new cards from the Yuma 2 Duelist Pack that we overviewed a day or two ago, and this is going to be based on the Dododo monsters of the set. So, we're just going to jump right into it. The first three cards we have are Dododo Gasser. He's obviously the Dododo's kind of greatest weapon in themselves, because when he's flipped face up, you target up to two face-up monsters on the field and destroy them, and if you actually flip summon him, he gets 3,500 attack. So, very, very powerful. Then we have Dododo Warrior. Dododo Warrior is kind of your standard. You can just normal summon him. He's useful for things like Card Trooper, things like that, because he negates the card effects that are activated in the graveyard of monsters that he destroys. Then we have Dododo Buster. Dododo Buster, you can special summon him from your hand if your opponent controls a monster you don't have any, and he changes to level 4. But if you tribute summon him, you can target a Dododo monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And that's the usual way where I actually exceed summon my rank 6s. Actually, most often I honestly tribute Dododo Warrior for Dododo Buster, and then Dododo Buster revives that Dododo Warrior, and I exceed summon. Then we have Rose, Warrior of Revenge. She is my tuner of my deck. I really like her as a warrior and a level 4 tuner, so I use her and she gives me access to the synchros that I use. Next we have Dododo Witch. Dododo Witch is your best way to get out Gasser, and she's nice to get Dododo Warrior out with its full attack, or say special summon Dododo Buster as a level 6 if you want to, say, synchro summon into Dissension. Then we have Warrior Lady of the Wasteland. She's used to special summon Dododo Witch from the deck. So you can do it on your opponent's turn too. And then finally we have another card from the Yuma 2 pack, Trouble Diver, and he's mainly just help for the Warrior Xyz summoning engine, which is why all my Xyz are all warriors, because I don't do too much Xyz summoning if I'm not using Trouble Diver. So I just decided to just go all out with the warriors, and that's obviously interchangeable. From my spells, I have Reinforcement of the Army, Dark Hole, and Book of Moon. Those are fairly standard, especially for a warrior deck. I've got 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, because they come in handy. 2 Forbidden Lance, and then 1 Forbidden Chalice. This is in case you want to erase the side effects of Buster or Warrior to return Warrior's attack to normal or Buster's level to normal. You can just use Forbidden Chalice. And plus it's a nice way to negate effects if you need to, or just raise attack for whatever reason you need. For my traps, as you can see I have a lot of them, but that's just because I really like running traps. I kind of go off the assumption that my opponent's going to run a lot of traps, so I run a lot of traps to counter things like that. First we have Half Unbreak. This is one of the other cards from the Yuma 2 pack, and I really enjoy using it because it just basically saves a monster or halves your battle damage if you need it. Then we have Bottomless, 2 Mirror Forces. Come back to Burst Reverse. 2 Fiendish Chain, 2 Call of the Haunted, and 3 Dark Bribe. Those are all fairly self-explanatory. Call of the Haunted, I mainly use this for synchro summoning, because it's a lot easier way to get these 2 out with Rose to get out Dissension. And then finally we have Burst Reverse. Burst Reverse is kind of just either it's a lot of life points, but if you're getting out a Gasser, most cases it's worth it, because you'll probably, if you activate it at the end of your opponent's turn, you'll get a 3,500 attack monster and destroy 2 of theirs, which I think that's a fairly decent cost. And there are some points where I use it just as kind of an alternative to Call of the Haunted if I need to, and if my life points are high. That's a rare situation though, so don't go activating this willy-nilly if you're using it. For my extra deck, I run these 4 synchros. The first one is Dissension. Dissension I run because it's my only option for a level 10 that can be used with one tuner, one non-tuner. And it's very good on its own. It gains 800 attack for every card in your hand, which is really nice. I've had 4,000 attack Transcensions before. And that's determined when it's synchro summoned. So if you play cards immediately after you synchro summon it, it keeps the attack it had. And then also when it's destroyed, if you can special summon all of the synchro materials used for its synchro summon. So that's if needed. If I synchro using Rose and a Dododo Warrior, which is the usual situation where that happens, if Transcension gets destroyed, I summon back a Warrior and a Rose, and those can be used for so much else. Then we have Crimson Blader. Crimson Blader is mainly just a major out to any high-level deck. He's just really handy. Stardust Shock Dragon, which we just recently learned the confirmed English name of. I really enjoy this. I enjoy it over regular Stardust because it can stop by battle as well, and it doesn't protect your spell and traps at all. Well, not any that aren't face up, which honestly the few that stay face up in this deck, they probably don't need to be saved most often. I find it's more useful, especially with Heavy Storm gone. You don't really need to protect from mass destruction nearly as much. And then Colossal Fighter, because all of the main deck and all but Stardust Shock Dragon and Transcension in this deck are warriors. So if you summon a Colossal Fighter late in the game, you're going to be really powerful. And then for my Xyz, my ranked 6s, I run Photon Strike Bouncer and 2 Gauntlet Launchers. If you want to switch one of these guys out for Constellar Ptolemy M7, that's probably recommended, but I just don't really like using that as much. I prefer Gauntlet Launcher, just because he kind of just helps out with the warriors. Not that it's necessary. This is a deck I could easily throw Solidarity in, but I don't really have a place to put it. So if you want to run Dododos like this, you can easily run Solidarity, and you're going to be seriously dealing lots of damage. Then for the rank 4s, I have Night Pappy Operative just as an option for 3 level 4s. It's probably the strongest in terms of warriors to put in here, because as soon as you summon it, you can activate its effect and gain 600 attack. So you're up to 3,200. And then if there's any other Xyz out, you'll probably be getting an even greater boost, which is really nice. And I got 1 Utopia. He's fairly standard, fairly self-explanatory. Comics Hero King Arthur. I like this guy because he's just a way to stop if you need a monster that's not going to get destroyed by battle. He's the one you can summon, because most of the warriors that you summon they're fairly offensive outside of Utopia. King Arthur is both defensive and offensive, because if he's not destroyed by battle, you detach a material, or if he would be destroyed by battle, you detach a material, gain 500 attack, and deal 500 damage. So if you go up to 2,900. Then we have 2 Blade Armor Ninja. Those are just for if you're going all out. Go for it. Heroic Champion Gandiva. I really, really like running Gandiva. A situation where this is really useful. I was facing an opponent the other day who tried to use Scapegoat, and I used Gandiva, and I negated the entire thing because it's like Bottomless, and it affects multiple monsters if they're all summoned at the same time. So Gandiva can ruin a Rescue Rabbit, it can ruin Scapegoat, things like that. It could negate Mecha Phantom Beast tokens if you wanted it to. Things like that. Then we have Zubaba General. Zubaba General is something I've started to really run if I'm running a deck that runs high-level warriors. And this doesn't really play as much of a role in this deck as it does in others. But say I don't want to just normal summon my Dododo Warrior, or I don't have a good opportunity to summon Dododo Buster, I could Xyz summon Zubaba General and equip one of these guys to him, and he'll go up to 4,300 attack and 3,900 attack respectively, which is pretty insane. That's kind of your power play if you really need it. I don't run into that too often, and you could probably run Excalibur instead for that same effect, but I just like Zubaba General. And then finally we have Gagaga Cowboy because he's a warrior. I don't use the defense effect. I'm not a fan of things like that. Just side effect burn damage like that, where people just see someone into Gagaga Cowboy for game. That just it doesn't seem like a legitimate win to me. It makes it very hard for cards that require you to be very low on life points to be usable, which is why I don't like that. But I mainly use him for his attack position effect to get over monsters. So that's why he's in here. He's kind of a controversial card for me, but I'm running him anyway. And one more thing I want to talk about is upcoming in the next V-Jump Premium Pack, I think it's called. It's been announced that the Dododos are going to get their own Xyz monster. We don't know anything about it yet, but it's going to be called Dododo Driver. And this deck would obviously change depending on what that is. We don't know if it'll be a rank 6, if it'll be a rank 4, whatever. So it would probably change how this deck functions. But this is for now as of the Yuma 2, and I've just mentioned that as I'm looking forward to this. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I guess I'll see you guys next time. I'll try to get a duel out with this pretty quick. I've been having pretty good results with this deck, so I'm not having as much trouble as I was having with some of the other decks. And so I will probably see you guys in that. See you guys later.